Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 55th installment in the Torah portion of the week. We're holding by Parshas Noach, which is the story of the flood and the fact that the whole world seemingly gets destroyed. So I wanted to focus on why the world should have been destroyed. What was the cause? What did they do that was so bad that they should be destroyed? So Torah tells us, chapter 6, verse 13, that God said to Noach, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with robbery through them. Behold, I am about to destroy them from the earth. Torah tells us clear that the reason that God is going to destroy the earth or destroy the world is because of robbery. Now we know from the other commentaries that there were other things that went on that the world deserved to be destroyed. They committed idolatry, they committed murder, they committed immorality, the big three that every Jew is obligated to give up their life for if they have to, etc. So why not one of the big three? Why did the world get destroyed because of that? Why is robbery so bad? So the Medrash says, what did they do? They stole less than the value of a pruta. Now, if a person steals, God forbid, not that we're recommending it over here, but if a person steals less than the value of a pruta, which is a very small amount, then they're not obligated. In other words, you cannot obligate them for stealing. And you take them to court, it's not going to help. So what do people do? If a person had, let's say a whole bag of beans or, something else, a person would come along and take a very small amount. Can't do anything. Another person would come along, take a small amount. Can't do anything because they're not liable. They're taking less than the amount until they would steal the entire thing from this person. So the Medrash says that because of that, they are liable. The entire world should be wiped off the face of the map because they seemingly would show that the world can't exist. The world will not be able to exist if people steal less than the amount. You can never try anyone. So people could lose everything because people come in, steal a little bit of this, a little bit of that, until eventually they don't have anything. So it comes along, my Rebbe, Rav Moshe Stern Moshlita, maybe well, brings down in his book, Chochmah V'das, on his commentary on the Torah, and he brings down this Medrash, and he says that a non-Jew, if the people during the flood and before the Torah is given have the status of Noahide, the Noahide is someone who is not going to convert to Judaism or doesn't have an obligation to convert to Judaism. They are a non-Jew who wants to hold by the Noahide laws. So my Rebbe asks, how does it help to steal less than a pruta? A non-Jew is liable. A Jew is not liable. A non-Jew is. So if a non-Jew is liable and they have the status of non-Jews, how in the world does it help? So my Rebbe answers that the fact that they stole less than the value of a pruta, it wasn't that they were trying to exempt themselves from the status of being a Jew. Right? As we mentioned, the status of a Jew, you're exempt if you steal less than that value because it's insignificant, even though by a non-Jew be obligated. But they don't want to obligate themselves like a Jew. So in this case, we're holding that they weren't Jews. What do they want to do? In their evilness, they wanted to prove they're not so bad. Why not? Why? Because if each person steals less than the value of a pruta, right, an insignificant amount, that's not really considered so bad. Right? Why is it considered so bad? They're not stealing a significant amount. They're not stealing a significant amount. Okay, they're stealing, it's not good. But to say that the world should be wiped off the face of the map, I mean, the reality is, what are they really doing wrong? That they should warrant that. So, it's an interesting idea. A very interesting idea. That they want to show that they're not so bad. That they're really stealing less than the amount that they're obligated. So if they're stealing less than the amount that they're obligated, they're not obligated. Regardless of whether they want to be judged like a Jew or not, it doesn't matter. Point is that they want to make sure they don't look so bad in what they're doing. Similar to Pharaoh. What did Pharaoh do? He said, any male child that's born, throw him into the river. Right? Kill him, but every girl, let them live. Right? You let the girls live, you throw the boys in the river, you kill them. Now, if we look at that, he doesn't want to be called so evil. I mean, kill all children, so what does he do? He says, kill all the boys and let the girls live. So he's trying to show he's not so bad. So what's the problem? What's the problem over here? We see by Pharaoh, even though he's evil and he wants all the boys killed, look, the girls are still going to live. So too over here. So if I steal a little bit, so what? I'm not liable. So I don't look so bad. But you dig a little bit deeper. What they're doing, how does that show they're not so evil? Pharaoh still wants to kill every male child. So since he doesn't know where the Savior is going to come from, thinks it's going to come for the Jews, he also kills Egyptian children. So you could say, based on that, so what if he wants to let the girls live? Still pretty bad. He wants to kill all the males. Over here, it's also bad. It's bad because if everyone stole a little bit from other people, you can basically steal everything they own. That's bad. Society can't function. So even though there were bigger transgressions, this would destroy society. So there's a bigger issue, though. There's a bigger issue. These evil people want to show they're not so bad. Even if what they did we know is wrong. That just you can't punish them. God will take care of them, that's not a problem. But they're looking better than they are. Now deep down, someone who's that corrupt, how can he justify? He'll say, listen, what I do wrong? Yeah, I took something, but I'm not liable. So we'll make a parable. We'll make a comparison to the mafia. You got people born and bred in the mafia, killed for a living. But they had unbelievable merit of honoring their parents. Parents nothing comes in front of them. Treat them with proper respect. So what? They go out, murder, butcher people. Okay, that's something else. Honoring a mother? That's something totally different. So, a person, even if they're an assassin, even if their job is to kill or to maim, they're going to think, they're righteous people for what they're doing. Deep down. So you can say we can justify anything. True. Even like that saying, I'm not, why am I such a bad person? Look how I honor my mother. Alright, yeah, I kill and murder also. Alright, that makes me a totally horrendous person. Also got good character traits. But they could justify. Absolutely justify. We'll take it a step further. Take the Nazis. May their name be blotted out. They thought they were doing the right thing by exterminating the Jews. As Hitler, may his name be blotted out, said, they are the conscience of the world. That's right. We are. We brought morality to the world. God's morality we brought to the world. True. Gives you right to wipe them all out. But he was a tremendous speaker. He was a tremendous orator. Got everyone riled up. Said they were the cause of all these problems, and they went and did it. Not because he put a gun to their head. Because they believed it was the right thing to do, and he convinced them. So we have an interesting idea. And the idea is that in their own eyes, whether they're fooling themselves or not is something else. But in their own eyes, their act is justified. They're not doing something so wrong. Look, judge me like a Jew. Put me on a higher level. If I'm judged as a Jew, I'm not liable. Why not? Because less than the value of a pruta, Jews exempt. So I'm not really that bad. But if we take stock of who we are, I'm not going to speak about mafiosos and other people. Talk about us. Regular people, so to speak. Take stock of what we do, of what we say on a regular basis. We know who we are. But we could justify. We could say, listen, I try and learn Torah. I try and help others. I try and do all these good things. But yeah, I have bad character traits. You know, some have more, some have less, whatever it is. But we know what the score is. We won't necessarily think about it. But all the Mussar books say, the books of ethics tell us, you have to take an accounting. You have to take an accounting of what you do in this world. Not just during Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. In the month of Elul. During the entire year. You have to take time. Path of the Just. The Ramchal. In Mesilas Yesharim says. That's exactly what you have to do. If you took stock of what you do. On a regular basis. Then. Even if you fail. Even if you transgress. You try and make up different ways to stop from your evil, to stop yourself from your evil inclination. Not easy, for sure not. But you have to take an accounting of what you do. And if we really took a strong accounting, an honest, not strong, an honest accounting of what we do and what we say on a regular basis, how many people are going to want to get up the next day? How many people are going to be like that ostrich, stick their head in the sand? Everybody. No one's exempt. Because we don't live up to the expectations the Torah sets. Some do a better job, some do a worse job. At the end of the day, we don't do it. We don't cut it. But you still have to live. You still have to do the mitzvahs the best of your ability. But we could look at it a different way. You can say, listen, why are you jumping up and down, give me Mussar and say, I got to take an accounting, I got to work hard, I got to change. Look what I'm doing. I keep Shabbos, I keep the festivals, I keep family purity laws, I try not to speak Lashon Hara, bad things against others, I keep kosher, I pray, I go to synagogue. There are a lot of good things I do. Give charity, do chesed, help others. It's a whole laundry list of things. Of good things that we do. So you could flip it and say, all right, Rabbi, I've heard enough. I'm doing pretty good. I have my failings, that's for sure. I may not be the most righteous of this generation. But look at all the good I'm doing. 100%. No one's going to take that away. Nobody's going to take that away. But the question is, what if you rest on your laurels? What are you going to do? You're going to say, I'm doing better than most people. Look at all the mitzvahs I keep. I'm really not so bad. Now, in my heart of hearts, would I say we're justified in saying such a thing? Yes. You say, wow, really? Yeah, you know why? Take a walk outside. See what goes on in the world. You want to take the pulse of America, go walk in Home Depot. Hear what people are speaking about. See what people are doing in their lives. You can walk home and whistle Dixie after that. Because if you're doing a lot of good things, and you see what other people are doing, of course you feel good. Why shouldn't I feel good? I should feel worse. I shouldn't be happy with what I'm doing. So you have to have self-esteem also. And you have to understand you are doing good things. You give charity, you keep kosher, you do all these different mitzvahs. That's excellent. But the other things we do that we shouldn't do we overlook them? Do we push them to the side and say, you're right, I do this, and I do that, and I do the other thing, and I brush it under the carpet. And I say, all right, I do these other things. That may be true. It doesn't take away from the good that I do. But at the same time, we do the wrong thing. We're going to be held accountable, depending on what level we're holding at the time we did it. If we're supposed to be in a higher level or a much higher level, and we mess around and do things we shouldn't do, punishment is much greater. So God will judge it however He judges it in His infinite mercy. But isn't this what my Rebbe is warning us about? And it's not just for the generation of Noach, it's for everybody, for all generations. That we justify things. I mean, people can justify anything, it's really scary. Even killing people, etc. is, we have our own justification. If we say they want to look good, the people of the generation of the flood, and they only steal a little bit here, a little bit there, and you can't obligate them if they want to be judged like Jews. So they say, listen, I don't look so bad. So that may be true if you do all these other good deeds also. If you do all these other good things, okay, we have failings. We have bad character traits. But you're going to get rewarded for the good that you do. Problem is, you can't justify and say, well, I'm doing better than most people out there, right? I took the pulse at Home Depot. Doing pretty good. It's not an excuse. God is not going to accept that. Again, whatever the punishment we'll get, but He's not going to give you a free pass. The ends don't justify the means. But in this case, why is it so bad? It's so bad, not because that they don't want to look so bad. In other words, what they're doing isn't really that bad. The reality is that they're doing something that's premeditated that exempts them from punishment. So something that's done that's premeditated, and you justify it, that destroys society. And if you have more people do it and justify things that shouldn't be justified in any way, shape, or form, that's the end of society. Society will destroy itself from within. Because then everything will be stolen from everybody, and only the ones, that have, bigger friends or more friends or whatever the case is, they're the ones that have power because they'll get all their friends together and steal everything. So society cannot function, in such a way. And that's why it's worse than idolatry, murder, and immorality. Those things, yes, they're horrendous transgressions. And every Jew, anytime, any place, if he's told to transgress one of the big three, he has to be willing to give up his life, anytime, any place. But if you look at each thing, murder, yeah, it's pretty bad. You take a life, the only person allowed to take a life is God himself. We're not allowed to take anyone else's life. Person pulls the plug, someone on a respirator, when it's not warranted, you killed him. No different than if you did that, you shoot him in the head. Immorality. People would say, well, if they're not married, why does it hurt anybody? Right? If a person is, has infidelity with a spouse, with someone else, if he's married, yeah, that relationship's never the same. True. That's pretty bad. If a person's not married, so immorality is also bad. It's bad for society. In many different ways. Idolatry. You believe in something and give it power, takes God out of the picture. And God created the world, we just saw last week. Right at the beginning of the book of Genesis, God created the heavens and the earth and everything there. God's in charge of nature, takes care of everything. So you believe in idols, you take God out of the picture. That's bad. Now, any of these three, at least 2 out of the 3 I understand. Murder, if everyone started murdering people, it is pretty bad the way the world looks. And homicides and how many there are in different places, yes. So if everyone went out and started murdering people, yeah, it would be a real problem. People committing immorality, adultery, yeah, that could ruin the family structure. Yeah, it's also pretty bad. Person bows down to idols, takes God out of the picture. So in some ways, maybe I'd say, okay, so he takes God out of the picture, so what? Let people do what they want. There are other people that believe in God, okay? But to see, when you take God out of the picture, that means you take absolute morality out of the picture. That means you take absoluteness out of the picture. Which means that you live even in a more chaotic world than we live now. Because there's no morality. Morality changes by the day. Right? That's what moral relativism is. If I feel like doing it, fine. If I don't feel like doing it, also fine. That's destructive. But see, if you take all those 3, I understand. Each one by itself is bad for the world. But the Medrash says, even all 3 combined wasn't enough to destroy the world except because of this. Because of stealing less than the amount you'd be obligated in. Only with that was their lives sealed. That God destroyed the world. So on a simple level, you have everybody doing it. We mentioned society can't function. Well, if you have everyone murdered, society can't function either. True. But there's a more dangerous element. The more dangerous element is I justify what I do. So it doesn't make me look so bad. We mentioned the example of the mafia. You pin him down. I don't care how nice he is to his mother. And you say, okay, what do you do? What's your job? Answer, I'm an assassin. My job is, people don't pay, do things, I go and murder. Or scare, murder, whatever. How can a person take someone else's life? Doesn't matter why. No matter if he owes the boss tens of thousands of dollars. He took someone else's life, bottom line. Torah prohibition. So how does a person sleep at night? And the answer is, he justifies what he does. He can say, oh, I do this, but look, this other guy does that, this, that, and the other thing. So he makes himself look better in his own eyes. So now I'm going to be careful. So we mentioned before, even if we justify what we do, even if we justify what we do, deep down, don't we have regret? Don't we feel bad for what we've done, even though we've justified it? And the unfortunate answer is most people probably don't think about it. They do what they do, go according to their nature, don't fight it too much, and that's it. Feel guilty? I don't know. I think people feel guilty most of the time, or more guilty most of the time, when they get caught. If they don't get caught, they just continue doing what they're doing. But we could be lulled to sleep. And we could think, just because I'm doing all these other good things, I brush all this other stuff away. That is a scary thing. And then we'll take it to a different level. Let's say a person's on a lower level spiritually than someone else. Let's say they keep kosher, they keep Shabbos, to a certain extent or whatever. What about someone who keeps more than them? Higher standard of kashrus. They keep all of Shabbos. They dress more modest. So the one who doesn't, what do they say? They say, wow, I really want to reach that high level. Look how much more I could do. Do they get inspired? They read more books of Musar. They go out, buy different clothes. What do? Majority of people will probably take these more religious people and try and slaughter them. Not literally. But say, oh, they're fanatics. I'm doing just fine. It's only astringency. It's only rabbinic in nature. It's only the rabbis telling you have to do this. Not according to the Torah. What's that called? Justification. They're justifying themselves while at the same time blasting someone else because they want to hold to a higher standard. So we're our own worst enemy. Justification in God's eyes, a person's really in trouble. And the reason is because even if they've done all these mitzvahs and they try and justify what they do and not admit what they've done is wrong, and God shows them after 120 years, God can come and say, yeah, you did all these good things. Look, you gave all this money to charity. You helped people. You learned. You kept Shabbos. Yeah, you did tremendous things. But you had so much more room to grow. And you were lazy. And when you wanted to grow, you said, look, I'm doing better than most people. I took the pulse at Home Depot. Not so bad. So instead of learning a little bit today, I'm going to sleep on my hammock. I'm going to relax. God says, or could say, I allowed you to breathe every breath until I took it away from you. Your goal in this world is to be the best you can be. to raise yourself to the highest level. God says, you know what about Home Depot? I don't care what they say in Home Depot. I don't care what the pulse is over there. I care about your soul. And I gave you this pure soul. And I put it in this body. And you want to tell me? You want to tell me? But look at the pulse at Home Depot. God's going to say, think. I don't care what goes on in the rest of the world and what's going on there. I care about your soul and the fact I put it in this body, and I didn't put it there in order for you to rest on your laurels. That's not what life is. Life's about work. Hard work. Trying to reach the highest spiritual level. Not about sleeping on your hammock. Unless you're like dead tired or whatever. It's not shirking responsibility. Don't come here and justify. Not interested in justification. God says, you know what? Let me show you something. Let me make it real clear. And God starts playing the second movie. What's the second movie? It's what your potential was. And you're too busy there trying to justify. And God says, but you could have done this. And you could have done that. And you could have done the other thing. That's the source of your soul. Now, after seeing that movie and getting bawled out, you still think your answer is going to be, but I'm justified? I'm going to come up with justification? Hard to imagine. Again, I'm not playing God here. Right? No big mustache, no cigar, no George Burns imitation. Right? Not playing God here. But if we understand what God wants from us in this world, and this is all documented, where does justification come in? How could you justify yourself by saying, okay, I stole less than the value of a pruta, so really not that bad? Very hard to understand. Because if God gives us a spiritual soul, and He breathed in the breath of life, and the goal is to strengthen the soul by keeping Torah and doing mitzvahs, there's no room whatsoever, regardless of what goes on in the rest of the world and what they're doing, to rest on your laurels and justify what you do. Person can say, you know what? Change is very hard. Yes, it is. You know, you could be a big fish in a small pond. And it's a bad pond. It's a pond that's going nowhere. And you have unbelievable potential. You say, you know what? Change is hard. I can't do it. Well, that's not true. God obviously thinks you can. Nobody is put in a position that they can't handle. I'll give a modern day example. My modern day example. So I learned in a yeshiva, a religious Zionist yeshiva on the West Bank, and I was being groomed to be some great modern Orthodox rabbi. I was going to go teach, start a community somewhere in America. You know, be a forebearer for the modern Orthodox movement. Now, for me, there was a major issue. The major issue was I didn't want to learn for a few years, pass a few tests, and then go out. Which many people did. Now, many people do that because, you know, they don't have so much money. So they're going to get paid a certain amount to learn, and then eventually they'll give back. They'll go to these, different communities or whatever it is and go teach, be a rabbi there, whatever the case is. So in my case at that time, I had money. I didn't need to do that. But at the same time, I said, let's say I stay in the same program for the next 2-3 years. And let's say I get a certain amount of information, then I'm going to be able to pass the test, whether it's the laws of Shabbos, the laws of Kashrus, whatever it is. Not an easy test, don't get me wrong. Would that make me into the person I want to become? It can help. Yeah, it certainly can. But I was in a different situation. My situation was I could sit and learn. Money necessarily wasn't an issue. So when I thought about it more, and I said, wow, I have a golden opportunity. What's that golden opportunity? The golden opportunity is to learn and to finish tractate after tractate after tractate and get to the goal of finishing Shas, finishing all the Talmud. It's a big goal to strive for. I'm not talking about learning 2 pages a day and finishing in 7 years, doing it superficially. I'm talking about relatively in-depth. You're having a certain level of clarity, learning Jewish law, halacha, etc. Or, I can sit in a program. I'll definitely get something out of it. And I'll go out and be able to influence others. So when I spoke to my Rebbe, Rav Sternbach Shlita, about it, and I didn't really know who he was at the time, when I asked him this question. And he basically said, I'm an old man, listen to what an old man has to say. If you have the opportunity to sit and learn, you don't want to, learn for 2 years and then go out. If you sit and learn, get a broader based knowledge. Focus on gaining knowledge, learning. Years later, when you want to give over to others, you want to have influence, imagine how much more information you're going to know and how you're going to be able to package it. He didn't say it exactly those words, right? But he said, imagine, you're going to know so much more. He said, you take my advice. I take responsibility for this. Listen to me. Don't do this and sit and learn as long as you can. So I told him, you just destroyed my dream in 3 seconds, that I've had for a long time. So I said, if I'm going to listen, then you have to be the one to teach me. Now, what gave me the chutzpah to say that's a good question. But his answer was, okay, bli neder. He said, without a vow. So then I kept hucking him and this and that. And finally he said, I don't even learn my grandkids. So I said, you know why? Because they're not pushy enough. I said, I'm not taking no for an answer. And that's how I developed my connection to him. I learned with him one-on-one for, a number of months. And then I learned by him, and I sat with him in the rabbinical court once a week for 5 years. That's how I developed my connection. But years later, this is the point of the story. Years later, the knowledge that I had, there's absolutely no comparison. After learning so much, it doesn't matter. Remember this over here and that over there, and, you have to constantly review and all that. That's true. But there was so much more that I knew. And there were different ways that I could take this knowledge and pass and package it, give it over to others, and be influential. Now, if you look back, or as I look back, would I have been able to do that after sitting for 2 years? The answer is no. Now, I think I might have been successful even without the other years of knowledge, but the level to give over in life experience afterwards, nothing to compare. It's absolutely nothing to compare. But keep in mind, where I was being groomed, I left. I left my comfort zone, everything that I knew, and I went to a different camp. I went to the Orthodox camp, and I never looked back afterwards, more than 20 years later. More than 25 years later. Now, was that a hard adjustment? Yeah. Was it humbling? Yes. Was it beneficial? Absolutely. I gained not only knowledge, but it developed a connection with one of the Torah giants of this generation, or the last generation, and absolutely 100% changed my life. Now, at the same time, when I went to learn in a new place before I met Rav Sternbuch, I was basically thrown into a deep pool. And said, okay, swim. If you swim, you can stay. If you can't swim, you got to go elsewhere. So as we say, the rest is history. But there was a tremendous evil inclination at that time. The evil inclination says, you're going to go to somewhere you don't know. Now you finally found your place. You're going to go somewhere else. You might have to change what you wear. Change your mentality a little bit, even though my mentality was already going in that direction. But you're being handpicked. You're being handpicked to be something in that world. And I left it. No regrets. Wasn't easy. Would have been much easier resting on my laurels. Staying with what I knew. Convincing myself I still had the tools to do what I needed to do, which I could have. That there's no question. Like when I first taught, as my Rebbe said, go, if you want to get all this aggression out, you want to teach, you want to see if you can give over, so go volunteer somewhere. At night, maybe one night a week. And see what you can do. So I gave a philosophical shiur class one night a week. There was a yeshiva neighborhood I lived in. So I came and gave a class once a week. Had a few people, sometimes more than a few people, whatever it was. And someone said, where did you learn to teach? Like, this is unbelievable. This is really influential. You have really knack to give it over. So I said, teach? I said, I have no experience. None. Never taught in front of a class. Never took homiletics. I said, you guys are my guinea pigs. So to speak. So I said, wow, that's how it started? Yeah. I mean, a lot of things tweaked over the years. More things I learned how to do better, etc. But I wasn't taught how to teach. I listened to, classes, different things, but, no formal training. So in a certain way, more than a certain way, if a person wants something so bad, and they'll do whatever it takes to get there, God is going to help you. He may put some stumbling blocks in your way, but He's going to help you. So whatever talent that I may have, is only because He gave it to me. And He helped me along the way. But I think the reason that I had tremendous amount of heavenly help is because I gave up everything to leave. where I was, where my comfort zone. I mean, things can go smoothly all the way through. Don't get me wrong. You read my life story. Certainly wasn't easy. Certainly paid a lot of prices for a lot of things. Right? But when my Rebbe broke my dream, and he split it in half, and went, and I pushed my way in, and he took me in, that was a game changer. A major game changer. Because I laid myself on the line. And I said, I'm going to listen to you. You just ruined everything that I wanted to do. So, okay. But now I'm going to listen to everything that you tell me. And you're going to have to be the one to teach me and train me. So I learned many, many things from him. Many things. Now, probably one of the most important things is that you're in God's army. So whatever happens, whether you sleep 2 hours a night, less, more, next day you wake up, it's a new day. Gotta pray, gotta do mitzvahs, gotta keep kosher, you gotta do all these things. But see, you have to give it your all. You have to forget about everything else. You have to forget what's around you. I was saying to someone today, now I grew up in a town, not so many, I wouldn't say any religious Jews really, no Orthodox Jews. You come from a hick town, you make yourself who you are. But you can do whatever you want if you don't have heavenly help. God doesn't help you, not going to matter. But as it says in Mishlei, King Solomon says, you have to want Torah more than you want diamonds and rubies and gold. You have to go out of your comfort zone. And yeah, I went out of my comfort zone quite a bit and was terrified. But I fit in like I couldn't believe. And I met peers, friends to this day that changed me into who I am. Just with the desire to learn, to get to the truth. They had much more learning under their belt than I did. But I was brought in with open arms. And people helped me along the way. And I grew and grew and grew. Again, I have a long way to go. I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm pointing out one simple thing. You can say, listen, I'm not that bad. I'm doing better than the Pauls at Home Depot. True. I could have gone out in the modern Orthodox world and done tremendous things. True. God says that you had different potential. And I gave you different potential. And I gave you heavenly help to leave your comfort zone. So what was the result? What was the result? The result was that, I had difficulty in other areas. And I lost many things. But so to speak, God threw me a bone. You know what that bone was? That bone was an unbelievable connection to one of the Torah giants of the last generation. That's more than a bone. That was like life itself. Last week, intermediate days of Sukkot, so usually I go with my family to see him. And I always say, I tell my wife day in and day out, anytime I see him, anytime I speak to him, it's an absolute miracle. Somebody like me, a hick from Braintree, Massachusetts. Yeah, it's a real name. The real name of a place. Someone like me had a connection with somebody like that. It's a different world. Different world altogether. But you see, that was the point. I didn't know that was going to happen. I had no idea. When I went to speak to him, I had no idea who he was. I'm not going to say this is the reason it happened, but I'm pretty sure it's part of it. But because I was willing to give over my life into His hands and make a huge switch at a time where I didn't want to, God says, don't worry, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to have a little bit of that greatness rub off on you. Hopefully. Hopefully. And that'll make all the difference in the world. That's the different potential that you had, but you had to be willing to give up something to get it. You couldn't rest on your laurels because that's game over. That's not the same potential. I want to remind everyone that I have a class in Derech Hashem, the Way of God, Intro to Kabbalah. We're speaking now about evil running rampant, and when bad things happen to good people, etc. So, hot topic. And reincarnation is going to come up also in the next few weeks. So that meets every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock, New York time. Also, I give conversion classes. You can take a look at my Facebook fan page, Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism, or my blog, orthodoxconversion.com. I give classes to Noahites as well. And anyone who wants to contact me can email me, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Everyone have a great Shabbos.